So today my topic is choose to be a place where loving kindness rests. That's what I'm talking about. But let me ask you this. Did you know that in Seattle, apparently this is available in other places, for $700 you can take a private flight with a pilot who will help you get over your anxiety of flying? Who knew? So this is what I want to share with you about being a place where kindness rests. And this is only my story of observation predominantly. When I got on the airplane, I had my seat, thanks to Chris and Peter and the board to allow me to have that flight. But Chris had chosen the seat for me. And when I got on, I was sitting in my seat, and this family of four came. And they were talking about where the daughter was going to sit. And I said to them, well, you know, I can move anywhere. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. So the mama, who was German, and forget your prototype of what a German woman looks like, because she was swell, she got up and she went to the back of the plane to check with her daughter to see if her daughter wanted to change places with me. And she didn't. She was happier sitting at the back of the plane because she felt safer, because she had extreme anxiety around flying. And, you know, the mom told me the story that they were traveling internationally, and the daughter had some kind of science fiction and got a horrible fever and got sick as a result of that. And this family flies a lot, and the daughter has trepidations, and now the daughter is 25, so I mean, it's not like she's a little kid. She is a 25-year-old. And so she was sitting in the back of the plane, close to the flight attendant, and the mom had shared that trepidation with the flight attendant. And then the mom came back and sat in the seat next to me and explained all of that to me. And then she said, you know, there are these classes, or this class in Seattle where a pilot will take people out and help them get over their fear of flying. But it's $700. And we've had a lot of expenses. And we just don't feel like we can afford to do that. But we travel a lot. They're international travelers, and they go a lot of different places. And it's inconvenient and upsetting for the daughter to have such problems. And I listened. There was so much more to that story that I won't go into. And then the flight attendant, who had received all of this story earlier, came up the aisle with the cart, and she said, you know, the pilot gives classes to people who have fear of flying. Exactly. And he said he would be delighted to speak with your daughter and your family after the plane lands.
Wow.
I know. That was like, Clarissa's reaction was like, wow. And that was my reaction too. It's like, wow. Now, wow. What are the odds of that, do you think? Wow. So here's the thing about being a place where kindness rests. It rested with airplane pilots. It rested with the flight attendants. It rested with this family and the daughter. I just was so moved by the miraculous miraculous, and I said miraculous, experience of that family. Wow. So, I want to remind you that we're talking about to be a place where loving kindness rests. And I wonder if any of you know of Sri Amma, the Hindu woman guru who travels all over the world hugging people. She's hugged 34 million people. And I had an opportunity to experience her in Albuquerque. And you would think 34 million people, well, there were 1,000 people when I saw her. And she sat guru style, and she hugged every person who came forward. 1,000 people. And these hugs were not like, thanks, get out of here, thanks, get out of here, thanks, get out of here. These were hugs, and she said something personal to every person. I can't remember what she said to me, but it was very intuitive. And then everybody got a bottle of blessed water. And the interesting thing was, when you opened this sacred water, there were different odors. Some people got a really icky smelling, sodium, phosphorus, icky kind of smell. I got roses, which I thought was wonderful. But she says this, people say, isn't it hard to sit there and hug thousands and thousands and thousands of people? And she replied, where there is true love, anything is easy. Now, I mentioned that she was Hindu, and she, however, says that her religion is love. That's her faith. So, 36 million people. Now, she collects, through her organization, a lot of money. And so she has education centers all over the world. She's involved in creating ways and means for clean water for people, ways and means to feed folks. So she's not just sitting idly around hugging folks. She's busy being a center where kindness rests. So I want to tell you about my trip now. I didn't realize, I had applied to go, and I was accepted, and I thought, well, how nice. But there were people there who had applied 2 and 3 times and had not been accepted. So I hadn't realized really quite what a gift it was to me and to all of us for me to be accepted there. So it was in the Cedar Lodge in Seattle. And darlings, what a Cedar Lodge sounds like, right? Little pines places. Woo! So let me tell you about this place. It's very unassuming. It's like in a residential center in the middle of Seattle, not far from the airport. And my niece took me there, and we kept thinking, this couldn't be right. But all of a sudden, in this residential area was this really nice building. It was nice. But walking in, I've been in a lot of hotels. My husband has been in the hotel business. I ain't seen nothing like this. It was spectacular. And never heard of this before. Maybe some of you have because you're more sophisticated travelers than I. But they had what they called the pillow menu.
Whoa.
I know. So you could call up and order a pillow to your specifications. Now, I don't sleep with a pillow, so I didn't do that, but everybody was like, woo, woo, woo. You know, soft pillows, hard pillows, buckwheat pillows, feather pillows. Some pillows had covers with lavender oil in them. Pillow menu. Whoa, who knew? And then in every building, there was what they call the family room. And the family room, you know, that's not so unique. They had couches and a TV and a refrigerator with water. There were refrigerated drinks of all kinds, not alcoholic drinks, but, you know, colas and juices. And the refrigerator was stocked with string cheese and yogurt and ice cream, and there were potato chips available. There were milk balls, 3 different kinds of milk balls, thank you very much, and gummy bears. And then the food, it was absolutely incredible. There was always 2 or 3 salad choices with dressings like you'd never guess. I mean, things that I've never imagined and I've never eaten. I can't even think to tell you. I just was like overwhelmed with all of the selections. There were 2 or 3 entrees. There was always a fresh seafood of some kind, salmon, mussels, clams. I don't eat those things, but everybody else was like, woo, how exciting. This whole conference of 25 people, plus the 4 facilitators, was managed. There was no fee to any of the attendees. No fee. So when I say that it was a gift to me and a gift to all of this to all of us, this is why. A guy named Mike Baker had gone to some of those retreats that were in the Hotel 6, you know, and he said, why is it that religious scientists who teach affluence don't live affluence? And then the question was asked right out of the box, 25, 29 people present. How many ministers are paid, now don't get nervous, how many ministers are paid a living wage? The 4 facilitators, and then I'm going to say like 5 more ministers present raised their hand that they were paid a living wage. The rest of the attendees, the creme de la creme, the selected ones, were not paid a living wage. And that was the point of this whole seminar, that when 25 ministers who hold the consciousness for the organization have an expanded sense of prosperity, that is going to leak out into the rest of the organization. organization. So the whole week was about expansion. And you know, the most important part of the whole educational process was about learning how to receive. We're pretty darn good about giving. But we're even worse about receiving, about having that open heart to trust and know that whatever we need is going to be supplied to us. Breathe it in. Allow yourself to feel expanded, to know that whatever you need will be supplied. And that's what the entire week was about. It was very emotionally draining. And if you think that I'm a crybaby, people who put on and carry themselves with such a sense of inauthentic superiority were reduced to tears. Because right there in their face, they got to see that they were not walking their walk. They weren't walking their talk. They were preaching and speaking and teaching about affluence, and yet only like 8 of them, 10 of them were earning a living wage doing that. And so that's what the entire workshop, seminar, week was about standing in authenticity, about living the truth of what we teach, so that we can teach the rest of the field. Now, what is it that I learned the most is that we, in this congregation, as small as we are really in so much better shape than a lot of places. And we are not unusually small. There are a lot of centers throughout our movement that are very small. But here's what, we are not in debt. We don't owe anybody anything. Right, Peter? We are clear of debt.
Yay.
Breathe that in. So we're doing really very well. And yet, wouldn't it be lovely if each one of us could step into our greatness in a whole different way? A whole different way. And the one most important place, the most important part of the whole conversation was to be consistent. To be consistent in giving and to be consistent in practice. If you say you're going to pray, pray. If you say that you meditate, meditate. Being consistent, consistency, because it is a commitment that you have with God. So I would invite you to think about in what way are you holding a sense of lack? And in what way, when you give, do you give with that feeling, that sense of, because that's what we're putting out there, that sense of lack, that sense of not having enough, not being enough. So now in this community, it is an issue of money, of course, and I don't want you to feel like I'm talking about that. But what I am holding for us is an ability to attract people who need our philosophy, to call more people into our family. So I would invite you to hold that with me. Ernest Holmes said this, and I really want to share it with you because I think it's so clear. You know, Ernest Holmes he was in the middle of the Depression, really, really wealthy, living in Hollywood or Beverly Hills, or he moved from Venice, California to downtown Los Angeles. I'm not sure exactly where his house was, but it was in a pretty opulent neighborhood, and his home was rather opulent, and it was during the Depression, and it was during the war years. So he knew what he was talking about, and he walked his talk. Now, the other thing that I want to say about this whole seminar is that the 4 facilitators donated their time, they donated their wisdom, and many of them, so it was Edward Viejo, is that Viljoen? I'm sorry, Edward. Kathy Ann Lewis from Seattle, David Bruner, and Lisa Garcia from here. And they all also financially helped support this event. So they were walking their talk. So here's what Ernest says. In the last analysis, now don't get upset about the gender, anybody. It was Ernest, and it was in the time of the masculine. In the last analysis, man is just what he thinks himself to be. He is big in capacity if he thinks big thoughts. He's small if he thinks small thoughts. He will attract to himself what he thinks most about. He can learn to govern his own destiny when he learns to control his thoughts. In order to do this, he must first realize that everything in the manifest universe is the result of some inner activity of mind. This God is mind, producing a universe by the activity of his own divine thoughts. Man is in this mind as a thinking center, and what he thinks governs his life, even as God's thoughts govern the universe by setting in motion all the cosmic activities. You're that powerful. You can set in motion, and small thoughts create small outcomes. And here's my part of it, and my apology, because I think of us as a small community. And that's not the truth. We are huge. Huge in spirit, huge in power, huge in consciousness. So I am not going to say that we're the small church in Reno. slip, somebody remind me, okay? So I just want to share this last affirmation. I'm going to read it to you a couple of times because I think it's powerful. And it's by Reverend Jeff Anderson, who is the spiritual director in
Oakland.
Thank you. He says, "Today I choose to be a place where the loving kindness can exist in the world. I am kind. I forgive. And I seek out and find beauty where I look." So choosing to be a place where loving kindness rests. Once more. Today I choose to be a place where the loving kindness can exist in the world. I am kind. I forgive. And I seek out and find beauty wherever I look. And I should probably stop there, but I want to share this because it just makes me laugh. Kathy Ann Lewis had created wisdom cards that look like packs of a deck of cards, like tarot cards or whatever. And Jeff Anderson had bought 20 of them. And when he came back on the airplane, when he went through the check, the federal people called him aside and had the cards examined for drugs because they appeared to be, in somebody's mind, contraband. These wisdom cards were contraband. And so finally when they went through, I guess they called the dogs and then he said, well, they why don't you try love? He said something about love. And that really aggravated the TSA people. So they took him to a room and they searched him because he had these wisdom cards. And he had the subversive gall to suggest they could try love. I think that's delicious. But here's the rest of the story. When he got home, he only had 19 packs of cards.
Oh no. Somebody needed them.
Isn't that a riot?
Does he know which card was taken?
It's
packed.
pack.
Oh, the
They're-
whole pack.
Yes,
Oh,
he had 20 packs of them and he only got home with 19.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I think that's hysterical. So I would invite Kate to join me and let's
Nothing else to do.
what? It's just absolutely. So I invite you to move within. And I invite you to take a deep breath that makes you feel so expansive. I take in the blessings of this wonderful, loving, powerful community. And I open my heart and my mind and my spirit to a willingness to receive limitlessly all of the good. I expand my idea of what this faith, this philosophy can do in my life. consistently. And I allow myself to know in that expansive place that I am touched in every area of my life. In my health, in my relationships, in my power, in my abundance. And I commit myself to be kind. To give and receive, because I know this is a reciprocal universe. And I give and receive in an upward spiral of endless love, kindness, and joy. And at this moment, whatever judgment I have about how things are wrong or not right, I have criticism around anything or anyone, I release it and I let it go. I allow God's goodness and expansiveness to settle into the deepest recesses of my being. And I know that for each one of us. And I invite you to own for yourself that sense of expansive good. And so it